joining the team. You go where you pella, you lama a crown. Who kill it? Who got shown up?
I love Liberia. Oh yeah, yeah. Free land on liberty, Liberia. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I love Liberia. Oh yeah, yeah. They play for me and you, Liberia. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Mama was born, yeah. Papa was born, yeah. They hold us together, the honey boy, yeah. Nabali kena koya baka na papa bo. Nabali kena koya baka na papa bo. Nabali kola bo, na papa bo. Nabali kola bo, na papa bo. La biro waka poma o. La biro waka ma o. Bangada anwa waka ma o.
From the east to the west, north to the south, they let come together as one. They say united we stand, divided we fall. If we not celebrate, we do it for you. Walla you forget that. You from Lower County, you from Maryland. Walla you from Rewa Sessu. I'm a bad dad, we own young people. I walk on the fine way. La villa, I love Liberia. Oh yeah, yeah. Free land on liberty, Liberia. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I love Liberia. Oh yeah, yeah. They play for me and you, Liberia. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I love Liberia. Oh yeah, yeah. Free land on liberty, Liberia. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I love Liberia. Oh yeah, yeah. They play for me and you, Liberia. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Master Square on the mix.
Of course, welcome. This is Open Conversation on ELBC Radio. Good evening and welcome to it. My name is Titi Gibro and I'm here alongside the man.
Washington
who?
And I'm Washington Tapper, and it's good being with TT this evening.
Okay, and so this is Open Conversation on ELBC Radio and online, and we'd like to say welcome to all of you who are joining us via radio or online. Here is where we critically analyze trending issues, set the agenda, and seek your input on the positive direction of our country. And of course, we're going to start this evening talking about the trending issues. And later on, we will have on the show this evening, Councillor Kani Ubag-Bala, and we will be talking about, the president's work he has done internationally. Is he, upright? What has he done? And we'll be talking about all of those and some of the trending issues we'll be talking about tonight because, the opposition has been all out since weekend. Mm-hmm. We will be asking Mr. Kani Ubag-Bala, who is also a part of the presidential intellectual movement, exactly. To talk about what the movement thinks, what the presidency thinks, and what the government thinks about what the opposition has been up to of late during the past weekend. Exactly. So that's it. Stay with us. We're not going anywhere because we have much to talk about this evening. How have you been doing? How was your weekend?
The weekend has been a very good one. I am pedaling through a critical time.
Of course, you'll get there. You'll get there.
I'm already there because I'm trying to overcome because I have this mentality that life has got to move on. And so you can keep being stuck up in this conception of depression, so you have to move on. So I'm moving on.
Okay,
I'm good. I think you can see I'm much more relieved than I used
last
to be.
Week. Yeah, so which is very, very good.
I'm moving on.
Straight into trending issues. His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Liberia, has returned home from a 3-day official visit to the Holy Land of Israel and Guinea-Bissau from the 63rd Ordinary Section of ECOWAS Heads of State and Government Summit, where Liberia's candidacy as a non-member of the United Nations Security Council from 2026 to 2027 was endorsed. That's good news. The president arrived today, and I saw that he had a little tete-a-tete with the press.
With the press, yeah.
Yeah, and he was talking about, I'm from the Holy Land. I had to pray. I pray for my family. I pray for Liberia. I pray for peace.
I pray for the elections as well.
Of course. And he said he went to the Dead Sea and he had to swim in the Dead Sea. And he was asked again, what else? He talked a little bit about what happened in Bissau, and he was excited that Liberia, has won this Liberia's candidacy as a non-member of the United Nations Security Council was endorsed by his colleagues. I think he was excited about that.
Yes, exactly.
And what did I get again? He says, "Okay, I'm from Israel, and when somebody's from the Holy Land, that person is already holy. You guys should be touching me by now so that you get your blessing." That was the fun of it, anyway.
Yeah, that's for real.
And also, what happened today, the long-awaited press conference from Henry Costa, the $30 million man.
Oh, that's the new
that's his name. Yeah, the $30 million man. That's Costa. Because Costa had this press conference that the whole country was waiting to hear about, and he disclosed purported external business influence in a pay-to-play fallout deal to have gotten UP standard bearer Joseph Boakai select him as a running mate.
Exactly.
Costa says the former VP betrayed him in the deal. He disclosed that he concluded the arrangements in the United States whereby Ambassador Boakai 6 months ago needed a life-saving triple bypass heart surgery. That's according to Costa. And Costa, said that the vice president, former vice president, needed that surgery, but he could not, undergo the surgery because according to him, the vice president sent him a text message at the last minute saying to him that the CDC government had paid the doctors in the U.S. and to kill him, Joseph Yuma Boakai, were he to undergo the surgery. So he didn't want to do the surgery anymore. He canceled the surgery. And according to Costa, that was the reason the former vice president gave for not undergoing the surgery. Well, is it true? Is it a lie? But those were the words of Costa. Again, we know the president of the Republic of Liberia does not have that kind of record. Even the president of the Republic of Liberia, when I listened to Edwin Snow the other time, he was talking about his frustration about what Joseph Yuma Boakai did to him. And he said that, he had to talk and all to get help for Joseph Yuma Boakai, and the president assisted the former vice president to get help. So how is somebody who's helping you to get better, who's helping you to go and seek medication, would now want to kill you? President Weah does not have that track record.
But how do you associate this kind of assassination claim on people's character when it is not proven by facts? So those words, like you said, purported, those were just things coming from the political pundit Henry Costa. Probably these were political griefs being excavated and articulated by him. From which perspective he spoke, we do not just know.
It could be true that he could be telling the truth, he could be lying, I don't know, but I'm speaking from a perspective of, the president. President doesn't have that record.
I am talking about Henry.
Whatever he told Costa that, maybe that shitty deal they were in, as long as it was going down the drain, he had to use something to make sure that, he got Costa to think that, what he's saying is true or is
There is no record of President Weah in Costa's word, right? There is no record of President Weah paying people to carry on assassination.
That's what got Costa very angry, because why would former Vice President Joseph Yuma Boakai even say that, the president has paid the doctors who are going to perform the surgery to kill Joseph Yuma Boakai because he's going to win elections, and President Weah does not want him to win the election? How is he going to even think that? So Costa, according to Costa, he was like taken aback. What? Why would he even think about this? But again, another thing he said was that he revealed that Joseph Yuma Boakai had promised to mortgage Lofa County, Wologisi Mountain to the potential investors in exchange for the $30 million should he become president. So according to Costa, former Vice President Joseph Yuma Boakai says, if I get a $30 million because I'm broke, I can't run elections. I don't have money to run elections. Since you guys are investors, potential investors,
serious maintenance inability.
You're promising $30 million. If you give me $30 million, whatever, as long as I win the election, people of Lofa County are listening, because Wologisi Mountain stands now to be mortgaged if Joseph Yuma Boakai wins the elections. And he, the whole thing about Costa then announced his disengagement of himself and that of the ALP from Ambassador Joseph Yuma Boakai's presidential bid.
And the Unity Party as well. Their political
drama in Liberia.
They've been disintegrated. And trending issues, they cancel Patriots.
Yeah, so the new Henry Costa, the new $30 million man for VP to Joseph Yuma Boakai.
That's their positive for Henry Costa.
Oh my God! We heard today the true revelation of men can talk all.
No, men has finally
talked all today, and so we're waiting now for the Unity Party folks who will be talking their own, because men finished talking all today.
Yeah,
as far as we know, Costa said that in the coming days, they're going to tell us where they're going. Now, listen to one of the journalists who asked him a question. Say, Henry Costa, are you still in for an opposition victory come October 10? And he said, no, our party, the ALP is going to tell you which side we are going. So we're going to see what's happened. But, the long of the short is the $30 million man for VP to Joseph Yuma Boakai, has been expelled from the Council of Patriots.
Yeah, and they stated out the reasons for his expulsion. So in the communication that I read, that you did read, it was spelled out that he was expelled because of some ethical misapplication. So
he has transgressed ethically, and so according to them, they can have that kind of man. They can have that kind of character in the COP.
Exactly.
So why Costa was leaving the Unity Party, he and his ALP were leaving the Unity Party. The Council of Patriots were also
preparing his flight,
preparing to expel him from the what is it called? COP, right?
The Council of Patriots.
Yeah, mind you now, Costa was the chairperson of the Council of Patriots. Today, the papers or the press conference or the press release that came out says that Costa has been expelled. The drama in Liberia with the opposition is just,
it's just overwhelming.
It's just overwhelming.
Exactly.
Too much for one, country. But yesterday, Musa Beliti, also the chairperson, the national chairperson of the Liberty Party, was also on another online TV, and according to him,
I think he plays two national chairpersons role. The CPP. He's the
national chairperson for Liberty Party. So
and the CPP as well.
Well. So he says last night that the Unity Party does not deserve a third term in office, and that the CPP is contesting against all other opposition political parties for Liberia presidency. Drama and little China.
And you can just politically synthesize the statement coming from Musa Beliti. Looking at the opposition formidability, looking at their strength, I think they're shooting themselves in the leg. With all of these, trivial, disorder, political arrangement, and all of that, I think they don't mean well. These are the kind of plans the opposition people. So we are looking at a total disordered country. If we were to make, the slightest mistake to have been so blind and relinquish this country into a group of unprepared people. So you see all of the kind of political blasphemous attitude that have been, perambulating around, and with all of these different disintegrated misfeelings and everything you see, being, perpetrated by the opposition, it just tells you, the future of Liberia. So
that is the future of Liberia. If Liberians will want to go their way, because these are people who seem not to be prepared to do anything for this country. It's all about self. Okay, so if Joseph Boakai will say, I don't have money to run elections. You've been VP for 12 years in this country, and you run the, we'll say, main opposition party, because you're just from you're just from leadership for 12 years, and you don't have money, and you're looking for financiers who are going to give you $30 million, and you will give them anything they want in Liberia, including your Wologisi, because you're from Lofa, and the people of Lofa County have a lot of respect for, you know, Joseph Yuman Boakai, Ambassador Joseph Yuman Boakai. If you will be mortgaging Wologisi when you have not even gotten the presidency, we'll leave it at that for the Liberian people to judge. But again, what's also trending that came up to this week is that Ambassador Joseph Yuman Boakai had a tour of 3 counties. He had a tour of Margibi, Bung, and Nimba. Well, when I listened on Friday, I heard that it was a thank you trip. When I listened on Saturday, I heard that, you know, it was showcasing Jeremiah Coon. Like, okay, this is your son and this is your son we are running with. But let's come back to what Ambassador Joseph Yuman Boakai has been saying. I have not seen, neither have I heard, because I really watched him when he was in Bong County.
Bong County.
Yeah. This is an opposition party. Where is the clear-cut, you know, position of this party to run this country? What mantra are they running on? I know that rescue mission. What are they rescuing? How are they going to do it better than the CDC? What is their plan for Liberia? Ambassador Boakai has not been able. He has not been able to tell the Liberian people, or these counties he's going to, that, okay, this is what the CDC is doing, but this is what I'm going to do when we get to power. This is how we're going to run the economy of this country. Nothing. What are his plans? For, you know, we always hear think Liberia, build Liberia. What is it?
Love.
What is it? Love Liberia, think Liberia, build Liberia. Is that all? How are you going to build Liberia? Because you talked about, when he was in Lofak, in Bone County, he talked about the Patawi waterfall. And that is a shame, because you're talking about Patawi waterfall, 12 years under Joseph Yuman Boakai's leadership, Ellen Boakai leadership. That place, you know, it laid in ruin. Yeah. And it took a George Weah government for us to recognize Patawi waterfall, for people to come here and say, for somebody in Liberia to associate with Patawi waterfall, it is under this leadership. And you say you're going to make sure that you develop Bone County, when all of the roads, all of the feeder roads in Banga were, you know, a mess until George Weah took power. Now you can walk on the streets of Banga, and then you're saying, when I come to power, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You talk about Phoebe Hospital, like, seriously?
You know, Titi, this thing, you know, keep recycling in my mind whenever a former Vice President Boakai came to the podium, you know, to talk about this rescued. Then I am baffled. Now, he talks about rebranding the educational system. He talks about the health system. He talked about rural connectivity, agriculture, infrastructure development, and all of that. Now, he says that these things are in deplorable condition.
How did he leave them?
Exactly. That's where I'm coming.
Okay, we have the video. Let's play a little bit of the video of what Ambassador Joseph Yuman Boakai said when he was in Bone County.
Let's go to the video.
We are here today in Bone County, but you know, in a few days we'll be celebrating 176 years as a nation. And one time I asked somebody, what do we, when we celebrate independence, what do we celebrate? Is it the years or the development? About 5 counties, 6, 7, they have to pass through here to go down to Monrovia. You see, the streets are not even laid out. And because the streets are not laid out, people fight for land. The school they started building here, they can't complete. And we still celebrating. The pavement of the Cocoa to Grand Bassa Road. Those are the things we're talking about that we must do. The Patawee that we know should have been a tourist attraction. Is it developed? Those are all the things that bring revenue to the nation and make people happy. We started the Salim market here. Is it completed? The Bond Technical College, our young people have to go to Monrovia. They have to pay rent. Instead of paving road, instead of giving them education, they said we should give them kush. The Phoebe Hospital, up to the day, that hospital is still not improved. You can't even have electricity correctly. The presidential palace that used to be a very beautiful place, today is just there. They send their children abroad. I have my children here. I told them, you will go to school here.
How comical is that? How is the former vice president going to say that? He speaks like somebody who is just coming into the political sphere and wants the presidency. He doesn't speak like somebody who has been in power for 12 years. He doesn't speak like somebody who has been in authority, who has been the second man in charge of this country for 12 unbroken years when we had all of the investors. He doesn't speak that way. He speaks like, I'm just coming like, a Johnny Just Come who wants to change everything. How?
So I come from a different perspective. I want to give you a different understanding about his articulation. So I think he knows what he's saying, right, Titi? He actually understands what he's saying. But I want to believe that he is intellectually detecting the minds of the people that are receiving his message.
Really?
To be honest, because if the people that are standing and saying yes and no, if they really understand what happened 12 or 15 years back.
So if they were, 12 years,
because
16,
you talk
years ago.
about you talk about now, Titi, take a flashback. Look at what happened the last maybe 17 years or 18 years. The savor on rice, right? So this country was put into a devastating position where almost everything was lost because of personal aggrandizement, greed, and acrimony between we Liberians. Now, this government had a possible succession. They took over this country to lay this country out. So if Mr. Boyka or the former vice president is talking about the country is not being laid out, whose responsibility is to, because we say government is continuity, right?
We continue to celebrate July 26th every year. We're celebrating, but look at the roads. Also,
Exactly.
You're telling us that you've been there 12 years. You've been getting all of the support internationally, and you have not been able to do anything, but you are blaming it on the WIA government that has been in power for just, 6 years now. And even the road you walked on to go to the field where you are, it's the government that made it possible.
You can talk about
you stayed there
layout.
for 12 years. You didn't do anything. You come back to say, look at the Salif market. Why didn't you complete the Salif market?
You talking about
you?
layout, Titi? That's my concern. I am being obliged to talk about this thing because, Titi, if ELBC must be at this peak, right? There must be a system, a plan to bring this studio at about this point, right? There must be a proper plan laying out, the future ELBC that we want to see. So it must start with the person who is in position to lay this place out. You talk about the streets are not laid out after we just came from brutal civil war.
But that is not true, because the streets, the way he left the streets after 12 years, they're no more the
But
same.
that's what I'm saying. I'm just trying to demystify the layout, that phrase, layout. So who's supposed to be doing these things?
Ambassador Boyka said, look at Batawi Waterfall. It should have been, it should have been like that. How did you leave Batawi Water? How did you leave Batawi Waterfall when you ran this country for 12 years? How did you leave it?
You talk about the educational system in the country. Your boss came the last time and she said the educational system is a mess. Under whose leadership? What was your contribution as the second person in command? What did you do? You talk about Who told you that Mr. Bouaga children didn't go outside for
His son was
education?
in China. His son decided, what is his name? Jojo. He really want one entertainment center here where he's distributing kush to the children. Who's talking about that? How will Ambassador Bouaga even say that? The president is, distributing kush when your son you sent to China to study. How do you think that whatever you say, the Liberian people are not going to, go back in history? Your son was in China studying. How will you say that?
So
your children are here. They didn't go anywhere. They went to school right here. Your son went to China, and all he's doing is running a club where he's distributing kush to the children.
That's the political misconception that we are talking about. And like I told you, Titi, I said the people receiving this message will be the problem, because definitely that Mr. Bouaga will not come to the people believing that he understands the intricacy. He understands the problem and the catastrophe the people been faced with. Then he won't come, or he will come before the people and say all of these palatable things, and the people themselves, without understanding the reality, they will be cheering to it. It sounds hilarious. You understand? It's hilarious, right?
Hilarious. That is it. Yes. That is it. Ambassador Bouaga, we know you can deceive us. Let's just play it to the end, and then we just come back on the 1 minute, and then we open up the lines for you to make your imports on the trending issue.
We are here today in Bong County, but in a few days we'll be celebrating 176 years as a nation. And one time I asked somebody, what do we, when we celebrate independence, what do we celebrate? Is it the years or the development? About 5 counties, 6, 7, they have to pass through here to go down to Monrovia. You see, the streets are not even laid out. And because the streets are not laid out, people fight for land. The school they started building here, they can't complete. And we still celebrating the pavement of the Kokoya to Grand Bassa Road. Those are the things we're talking about that we must do. The Patawi that we know should have been a tourist attraction. Is it developed? Those are all the things that bring revenue to the nation and make people happy. We started the Salim market here. Is it completed? The Bond Technical College, our young people have to go to Monrovia. They have to pay rent. Instead of paving road, instead of giving them education, they said we should get them kush. The Phoebe Hospital, up to the day, that hospital is still not improved. You can't even have electricity correctly. The presidential palace that used to be a very beautiful place, today is just there. They send their children abroad. I have my children here. I told them, you will go to school here. Yes. They're born here, they went to school here, they graduated here. Because this is the country they belong to. Where good hotels will be built, people will come and lay this place out so that we live like civilized people. It's about time that we move this country forward.
The Pape gave vla. The Pape really gave vla. You said the early market that we started. You know how many markets, the CDC government has constructed under President Weah? How many markets have been constructed? You got what? Early market in Bone County that you did not complete. Who do you expect to complete just a market that you could not complete? He said, Patawi is supposed to be a tourist, attraction. You stayed there for 12 years. What did you do? How did you attract people?
How did you leave it?
How did you attract people to Patawi? It's, the Bible full of lame. It's sad. Yeah, it is sad. But it is sad. Your son Tantan, I call him Jojo, not Jojo, but Tantan. He was in China. He went to learn music. That's his career. That's what he wants to do. He comes back to the country. How is he contributing? Because he is the son of a vice president.
That's what I say. We should stop the misconception. We should stop it.
How is he helping? How is he helping?
Check their credential, their academic credential.
Liberian people need to really listen to Ambassador Bouaga, because his whole trip, the road you drove on to go to Kampli, How did that road get there? You were there for 12 years. How did that road get there? It was there. It was made possible by this government, even though you were in power for 12 years, Ambassador Bouaka. And then you go to the people and say that, the president is distributing. And that lazy argument under the Unity Party-led government, the drugs and the people, the young people who were introduced to drugs, it was under your government. You had all the money, all the support internationally. You did nothing. You told us that you squandered opportunities. How are you going to come back to us
let me hold
and
you.
tell us that?
Let me hold you a bit. If you talk about the distribution of cooch and illicit substances in the country, let me hold you a bit. Now, quite recently, the leadership of this government has managed to enact the drug law.
Yeah. You didn't do anything for 12 years.
Right? For 12 years, Bouaka's,
Ellen Bouaka leadership or Bouaka Ellen leadership.
Ellen Bouaka's, political understanding about national leadership in the country did not care to look at the issue of drugs. But now this leadership, within 6 years, has managed to, give some capital punishment to drugs.
And it's under George Weah that is happening. You say the government is not doing anything
in the country.
How can you be disingenuous?
See what has happened to the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission by ensuring that you gave the commission prosecutorial power to be able to prosecute people who are involved into. So that
was something people cried for under the Ellen Bouaka regime, and nothing happened.
There are systemic transmogrification of leadership, right? So
Washington, you kill the people. There
are systemic changes, right? There are systemic changes to transmogrify.
By the time I call you Mr. We said, just know we're going to the lines. By the time I say Satya,
so you see, if we're doing an administrative, comparative analysis, you need to come to the realization that government is continuity. That means you need to have a proper layout and before you turn out to the next person so that he or she may have a smooth operation to lead the country to its betterment. So you can leave it in ruin and within a twinkle of an eye you expect us to be in glory. It's not possible.
I can do this.
It can be possible. Not at all, Titi.
Okay. Can we go to the line?
Yes.
080514096 is the number to call. And you can talk to us about the trending issues. We will take a few calls and then we go to our guest who is already ready to take our questions this evening on open conversation. The conversation is open. It's your time to make your import. 08805140096 is the number to call and you'll be live on Open Conversation. Okay, let's take our very first caller.
Yeah, Carol.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, thank you very much. Am I live?
You're live.
Thank you. Let me say thanks to USCT. Jiro William Jabinguru, people defender. And I join you for Raka this evening. Let me say thanks ever so much to you all. And you said it all. The last point that you say, corruption was vampire. Corruption was walking on the street, sucking more blood in Labrador. On the 12 years. But on President, we are what LCC was calling yesterday for prosecutorial
power.
Yeah, there is no way, but on President, we are. Appoint one either commissioner, and the rest of the people will be appointed by different institutions. Here's how the law is strong. You see it? But other than that, it was happening. Now, when my brother called me yesterday from total Grand Gila, Sico is there now cleaning up. You're about to start a room for all there. You want to tell me that you will bury in which way? Then tell the people why you will do it.
Okay.
The question was, and he said it was a mess. But the work out and make it better. Instead of saying the mess, let me see how bad. And you're paying to
Thank you, Mr. Uruna Urucha. Thank you.
Toby speaking.
Mr. Uru. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, good evening. Good evening.
You can leave him there.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good. Welcome.
Okay.
You have to move away from the radio a little bit. You're coming in broken.
You're still coming in bad.
Sorry,
We're
we have to
sorry.
take another caller. Good evening. Good evening. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, my name is Obido Way. Come on, I will take way. Members of you might not have for the presidential election.
Go ahead.
I just want to comment here in the studio. But I don't know. But I just shame of myself. In that year, I would say, because you were there for 12 years. You didn't do anything. Now you are telling us that your market, your started in Bonkate, which you complete for your. What we have on our head to do, what we have to do. But I just shame. He had to say the people. Not down at the people around the trouble. I say, but why you call rescue? What do you have them rescue for? Why let me call you? I let me call you. Come rescue country for them.
Okay.
Yeah, come to country.
Thank you.
How I come to the country?
Thank you. Welcome.
Hello.
Yeah, I
We're good.
okay. I just want to say something about this women worker thing. So far as you can see, for one thing, several times.
I don't know why he's coming.
You're very low. We're not getting you, sir.
You getting me?
You
getting me now?
Yeah, much better.
Yeah, okay. I said sometimes I used to say because that's very fast. Because the time that takes, I think, to do the work, at least for them to take time is below. So
Okay.
when you go anywhere, it's sorry for the old man now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Your line is bad.
Hello.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
This is
Go ahead.
Okay, I want to say good evening to the two of you and thanks for the programs. I followed up from the beginning of the show. This is the issues that will happen and we see that today. Now you see the point of the president is something that everybody it is tangible, it's all things across the country. So we believe that there's the best to establish to be the best of the country.
Yeah, I really don't know why you guys are coming in this bad. We're gonna take two more and then we let it be. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is Pascal Davis, now from District 6.
Let's hear you, Pascal.
Thank you. Sometimes when other folks are lying, it sounds so funny.
You can tell people they lie. You can say the test story.
Look, the first thing the woman said, when you become president, you the entire country will ruin 3 months. I mean, you think, he said no car will get sold in the mall for 3 months, even after 3 months. I mean,
we have beef flour. We have beef flour.
You will make the road pliable within 100 days. Yeah, he said he will make all the roads pliable in 100 days.
No car was stuck in a month in the country.
Okay, that is not what the fact. What you did when you were 12 years? What you did with Lofa?
So if the man said, he said, "Oh, my children, okay, we agree." But nobody who's supporting you get a dollar in America. They don't get a dollar in the. You see when
they don't get his son.
When people run out of ideas, one car is not doing this on his own. When we tell people, they say, "Oh, you're supporting John." We're not John. We're not supporting John. We have called for 5 years. It's a country that we support. So we ask the whole let the country money on. You listen to what Mr. Kosa said today. The man had even pawned the money in Lofa. Imagine that. You pawn the
man want money, no money to run election.
You see, like brand people, I don't sometimes ask the question. Well, because even before the CPU could be established, the men had divided the job. They say, Kosa will go to foreign affairs, brother and son.
Okay, Pascal.
Thank you, Pascal. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello.
You. The last caller.
Hello.
Yep.
Let's hear you, sir.
Go ahead, sir. You're live.
All right. I'm Emmanuel Diga. I call from Bonafide Bell tonight.
Okay.
Let's hear you.
Are you hearing me?
You're live,
you're
sir.
Good,
Go ahead.
Sir.
Okay. Quickly, I just want to appreciate you guys in the studio tonight.
the woman is running out of ideas. They don't even know where to start from, how to really convince, people that supporting him. But Ambassador, we are the president. We're going to re-elect the president for 1 minute for what he's continuing doing for the Liberian people. The campaign by is saying, is glaring, we're saying it. You know, that will be passing around the market hall that will be here. You start market hall that Joel can't complete your market hall. These are just disgraceful. Thank you for the show.
Thank you so much for being a part of the program. We're going to take a short break now. When we're back, we will introduce our guests and then we go straight into the program. This is Open Conversation on ELBC Radio and online. Stay with us, please.
From the east to the west, north to the south, yeah, let's come together as one. They say united we stand, divided we fall. If we not celebrate, we do it for you. Voila, you forget that. You from Lower County, you from Maryland. Voila, you from Rewa City. I'm a bad guy, we own your people. I'm up on the fine way. Tabila, I love Liberia, oh yeah yeah. Free land on liberty, Liberia, oh yeah yeah. Oh yeah, I love Liberia, oh yeah yeah. They play for me and you, Liberia, oh yeah yeah. Oh yeah yeah.
I was raised in the swamp, but I chilled with my guns. Kept it on the low, but we fought for the bones. True son of the sun, I'm a prince in my own. Never gonna lie, me, I love LIB. Even though it's far, when we show we can face it. It's not a prophecy, I know that we can rise again. Holding my hand, I holding your own. United we stand, divided we fall. So that's what they say when I come with ball. When I chillin' on that side, and I get no bro. I got L to the O to the V and the E. If we fighting together, we can conquer this team. From the east to the west, then waving the flag from the north to the side. You're not joining the team. You go where you pella, you love my crown. Who kill it? Who got stoned?
I love Liberia, oh yeah yeah. Free land on liberty, Liberia, oh yeah yeah. Oh yeah yeah. I love Liberia, oh yeah yeah. They play for me and you, Liberia, oh yeah yeah. Oh yeah yeah.
Mama was born, yeah. Papa was born, yeah. They hold us together, the honey boy, yeah. Nabalike na koya bake na papa bobo. Nabalike na koya bake na papa bobo. Nabalike la koya na papa bobo. Nabalike la koya.
And of course, this is Open Conversation on ELBC Radio and online. And we told you this evening, we will be playing host to Councillor Babala. This evening, we will be looking at His Excellency's respect internationally. Does he still command internationally? Does he command the respect of his colleagues at the sub-regional level? Liberia hosts the Mana River Summit in Monrovia, or Liberia hosted the Mana River Summit in Liberia, and Liberia has since maintained post of Secretary General of the Mana River Union. The regional leaders endorsed Liberia's candidacy. This just ended ECOWAS heads of states summit in Bissau. With global financial fallouts, particularly in the region. This Liberia maintains her macroeconomic stability. Our GDP is at 6, something that is far above that of Sierra Leone, though Sierra Leone, I think, is about 37 or 36, like that. But Marabio still won elections on a first round ballot. President Weah attended the Baden Summit and the Baden Africa Democracy Summit, and his respect for democracy was highlighted by the president of the biggest democracy, that's the president of America,
the United States.
We were there, we saw it, we heard it, we reported that. And so we're going to talk more about, Liberia's international standings And to do that, this evening with us is Councillor Kanyo Gbagbala. Councillor Gbagbala is a member of the We Are Intellectual movement. And so he will talk more about that. Let's hear what he has to say this evening. Councillor Gbagbala, welcome to Open Conversation.
Can you hear me, TT and Washington?
Councillor, we didn't get you clearly first, so can you reiterate?
I'm saying, can you hear me?
Yep,
we're hearing you now.
How are you?
So let me. Am I free to continue to speak?
Yes, go ahead.
No,
sir.
we're asking how are you. We have not asked you a question yet. We just want to know how you're doing.
I'm doing very, very excellent. In very high spirits. I'm doing great. As you know, all of us, those of us who are united around the ideology of the leadership of President George Manneh Weah, we have all rolled up our sleeves and we are prepared to work, have continued to work, have started to work assiduously, very hard to ensure President Weah's re-election on the first ballot. So in short, to answer your question, I'm very well and I'm very upbeat. And I think some of the things you started to talk about are making it clearer day by day that President Weah's re-election is going to be more or less like a walk in the park. But anyways, I'm fine.
Okay, great. So before we come to, the president's international, statue, let's talk about what happened, from the weekend up to today. And I'd like to hear your say. What do you think about what Ambassador Joseph Yumon Boakai, who's running on the Unity Party ticket, said about this government during his tour of Bong, Margibi, and Nimba counties? And then I'll do a follow up with what Costa said. Before we get into the real issues, I want to hear your take on that.
Well, thank you. I mean, before I jump and share my own position on what I consider statements to be ridden with disbelief. In fact, those are statements that I call that are birthed from what, we're talking to our people across the country. I heard you earlier cautioning Washington to be mindful of his diction. We're talking to the 15 counties so that we speak in a way that our people can understand. So we endeavor to do that. But I think what those two statements, and I'm sure I will come to them, like I said, demonstrate is what I call cognitive bias. And I will explain what that means. But before I get to that, I want to firstly start out by sending a very hearty welcome back to His Excellency Dr. George Manneh Weah. I'm sure, TT, you probably were at the airport today as a representative of the state broadcaster, when Dr. Weah returned to the country after his international stint. So we want to say greetings to him as he returns to the country. We also like to extend revolutionary greetings to the great men and women of the ever-resilient Mighty Coalition for Democratic Change. As you know, that is the political vehicle upon which President Weah is going to be re-elected by majority on the first ballot. I also like to extend greetings to the chairman of that powerful party in person of Dr. Mobake Molu, who continues to inspire the base of the party, thousands of our people across the 15 counties, encouraging them to remain resolute, to remain mobilized in order to ensure that we deliver come October. And finally, I'd like to send out my greetings to the We Are Intellectual movement. As you may be aware, TT, the We Are Intellectual movement is the fastest growing movement that is associated with President Weah's re-election that goes beyond just the question of the party. Day in, day out, there are a lot of people in our country who are not politicians, they are not partisans, they are not government officials, and they are trooping in their numbers and expressing their desire not only to re-elect President Weah, but also to be active in the process of communicating her gains. I thought it was important to spread that upon the conversation before we move to your question. Now, to your question, you asked about statements made by Dr. Joseph, I don't know if it's Dr. or Ambassador rather, Joseph Human Boakai, while he was on what I may term as a pre-camping trail in Bon County. And you also asked about the Costa statement. I'll start with the Boakai statement. And like I said earlier, I termed it as a case of what we refer to as cognitive bias. Now, it may sound like a big phrase, but we'll unpack it so that people can understand exactly what that means. When you display cognitive bias, it means that you take information that everyone who is supposed to be objective can look at, can analyze in a particular way, but you look at that same information and then you tend to interpret it in a skewed way just for your own narrow interest or based upon your own narrow viewpoint. In essence, when you demonstrate cognitive bias, quite respectfully to Ambassador Boakai, it means you are selective in your reasoning. You do not look at the collective. You do not analyze in terms of what has happened to a broad spectrum of the country or of a particular sample set, but rather in terms of how it suits your effort. I listened to you when you played the recording about talking about why is it Liberia after 170 plus years is still lying in ruins, is still lying underdeveloped. When you are testament to what has happened in this country for 6 years under President Weah. This vice president or former vice president is somebody who has served in a capacity for 12 years under a government that was exposed to the highest number or magnitude of international support coming to Liberia in a post-conflict environment. I may have uttered this before on another platform, but one could argue that in 2005, when Ambassador Boakai and former President Sirleaf assumed leadership of our country, that Liberia wasn't really an independent state because almost every facet of the Liberian state was subject to international control and international support. The security sector was in the hands of the international community. That was evidenced by the presence of one of the largest contingents of armed personnel, military people in our country. The health sector was under the international community. The education sector was under the international community. All the various areas that hold promise for the development of our country was being heavily supported, either directly or through direct budgetary support to the government. Now, Ambassador Boakai, quite respectfully, and I continue to say this because when we have these debates about how people choose to selectively interpret information because they have political ends that they want to acquire, it's not about the person per se. It's about the ideology, it's about the misinformation, it's about the disinformation that they're providing our people. And in this process, we must separate the person from the information. And we must make sure that the population is not dissuaded or carried away by information that has been politicized and weaponized. And that's what we're trying to do quite respectfully. So when you have a former vice president who have been in office for 12 unbroken years, prior to coming to the vice presidency, Ambassador Boakai boasts of a political pedigree of close to 42 years within the public sector, even predating the emergence of the ruling Unity Party. When he has that kind of political pedigree of being a perpetual government bureaucrat, and he goes to Bon County, it is not as if Bon County just emerged out of the blue sky today. It is not that Bon County was a creation of the last 6 years. Bon County has been in existence since the beginning of the Republic. And for him to make a statement as to the underdevelopment of Bon County as it is today, when he, as a senior statesman, has played more than 4 decades of leadership roles in our country, then we can realize that this is just on the basis of political aggrandizement, that somebody just want to get to power, that they will say anything in order to encourage other people to follow them. And I think that's what that statement represents. For example, to even point out to people there, and I'm sure some of those people who are even ululating as he spoke, probably did not even understand the magnitude of what he was saying. Some of those people were gathered and just taken over there to be a party to a gathering, a political gathering for whatever reasons. But to even insinuate that education in that county, when you have Cottington, that this government has provided serious support, budgetary support to subsidies to the Cottington University, is present in Bond County. And you're saying that there's a lack of the community colleges, their election is the basis upon which people are leaving to come to Monrovia, even demonstrate that you don't understand the culture of education within the county. But
do you think that people were questioning in their minds what exactly he was saying, or they were just there listening because they had no option but to listen?
Well, I think there are a number of reasons why people gather, and we must be mindful of such. All right. There are different configurations that are happening within Bond County regarding the political direction of our country. And in the midst of those configurations, you have people who hold particular local loyalties that are being, I don't want to use force, but coerced into being present at some of these rallies without having an understanding, an acute understanding of why these rallies are being held and what kind of leadership is being presented. What we are trying to do as a We Are Intellectual movement and people who are allied with us is to offer the public and those across the 15 counties an opportunity to unpack the real issues regarding these statements.
So what are the real issues?
Pardon me?
What are the real issues concerning the statement he made?
Real issues, as I've said before, and I'll say it again, we have people who are vying to lead our country. President Weah has been in power for 6 years. In those 6 years, he has achieved a multiplicity of things across all sectors, whether it is education, whether it is healthcare, whether it's infrastructure. He has built more roads in 6 years than the Unity Party built in 12 years. He has put more teachers on the payroll in 6 years than they did in 12 years. He has built more health institutions, hospitals across this country in 6 years. I'm talking about referral hospitals, not just clinics, than they did in 12 years. President Weah has maintained the peace in this country over 6 years in the absence of the international community, which they did not do when the international community were present. President Weah is running.
Does the Unity Party not know that? Do they not know that?
Pardon me?
Don't they know all of what the president has done? So what are they trying to put across then?
Now, this is classic propaganda and misinformation. And that's why we're here, TT.
Okay.
That's why we've made our business that consistently our people should be informed about what has happened over 6 years. Because
so you're saying what Joseph Jomo Boakai said is, classic, you're terming it as classic propaganda and disinformation.
I would say as such, and like I said, it's classic cognitive bias. Because when you take a sample set of an information without looking into Bond County and looking at your own historicity of having served within the echelons of leadership for over 40 years in the public sector, and you make sweeping statements as if you want to attribute certain kinds of defects in the system to somebody who has come to power in 6 years, despite what they have done over those 6 years, then that is problematic. And that is why it has to be clarified. And that's why the goal is here. In regards
did you hear anything from Ambassador Boakai as to how he intends to lead this country? As politicians, is it not the right thing to do to tell the people why, how you intend to lead them, whether to give you state power rather than, what he was trying to put across?
Titi, you are asking the right questions, and these are the questions that our people ought to hear. Some people want to make these elections about sound bites. They want to make it about divisive politics. They want to make it about regionalization of our country. They want to make it about relationships, tribal relationships. President Weah is not one of those people. The whole idea is that if you are going to present a viable alternative for leadership in our country, then you must do so on the basis of your record. And I have argued, President Weah's record and his agenda is clear for all to see. President Weah campaigned on pro-poor, on hope for change, that he's going to bring change. When he was elected, he constructed what I believe is the most progressive macroeconomic strategy that our country has ever seen, the pro-poor agenda for development. Under the PAPD, President Weah introduced 4 different strands where he said he was going to do certain things. He said there was going to give power to the people. He was going to improve the business environment, the healthcare environment. He was going to improve our foreign affairs. All of those things were clearly articulated in the proposed strategy. It is there.
Okay.
After 6 years, we can see by evidence what President Weah has achieved in relation to his strategy. If we want to give him a great mark, we can probably give him a President Weah 80% in terms of coming through on the promises that he made in line with his strategy.
Yeah.
The question we should be asking and encouraging the electorate to ask, beyond your tribe, beyond your region, beyond your ethnicity, beyond wherever you are, who you are, what religion you are, the question that we should be asking is, what is Ambassador Boakai's record? Does he even have a record? And if he does, why aren't they sharing that record with the Liberian people so that Liberian people can make an evaluation between his record and our record? The fact that
yeah, I know you want to. I think you've sufficiently dealt with the Joseph Yimo Boakai issue because we got a lot of things to talk about when it comes to the president's international.
True, but I just wanted to end on this point. Then we move forward, right? As I conclude on the Boakai statement, right? Like I was saying, anyone running for president is a question of evaluation of their records, right? And we have put President Weah's record forward, his record of development, of peace and security, of healthcare, all of those things. We've articulated them. We'll continue to articulate them, even though there are misinformation in the public space that they want to erase that and make these elections about other kinds of divisive politics. We won't follow them. Now, Ambassador Boakai, quite respectfully, we're asking, where is your record? When you go to a campaign to Bond County and you have the opportunity to speak to the people of Bond County, you should be telling the people of Bond County, this is what I did before. 12 years as Vice President of the Republic of Liberia, drawing a salary every day, almost close to $1 million per annum. This is what I did. And on the basis of that, this is what I am going to do. Instead, you have him dealing differently. And you know why he does that? You know why he makes those kinds of statements in Bond County and other places? Why he will even say publicly to people that the government is complicit in providing drugs to young people. I'm very sure that Ambassador Boakai does not even believe that. Does he believe that President Weah will sanction the distribution of drugs to people in his own country? This man who campaigned for people to be rehabilitated after the civil conflict, will he do that? I don't think he believes that. But the issue is simple. Ambassador Boakai has no record. He was vice president for 12 years, and he came out in 2017 to tell us that he was a packer, that opportunities were squandered. Now, if you are PAC, you don't move. If you don't move, you don't cover any distance. And if we must argue that even that the United Party marginally achieved a few things over that 12-year period, by virtue of Ambassador Boakai saying he was PAC, he cannot share in the dividends of that achievement. Then those were achievements.
Okay,
So
I
he
get
has
that. I get that, Kanyo. I get that. Can stop by well. Let's move to under 5 minutes. You know, you listen to Henry Costa today. What do you make of some of the assertions he made today?
You know, normally I would not, and I was one of those who said to a couple of people who were kind of pleasantly surprised at the statement from Henry Costa that it shouldn't be our business. Those of us from the Mighty Coalition for Democratic Change, those of us from the We Are Intellectual Movement, those of us who support unbridled the re-election efforts of His Excellency Dr. George Manneh Weah, it shouldn't be our business to be concerned with what a Henry Costa says about an ambassador, Joseph Yuma Boakai. They're having their own pity party by themselves. They're just revealing to the Liberian people what a sad collection of people are electing to lead this country. This is the alternative that they are presenting to the far-sighted leadership of President Weah. So I advise my colleagues, I said, look, let's not elevate what is happening there. In fact, it means nothing to us. Our true job is to communicate the gains of President Weah. That is our commitment. That is our purpose.
Are you not concerned? Are you not concerned that, according to Costa, those financiers of Boakai's campaign were told that were they to win elections, they're going to give out Wologisi and whatever those financiers want, they're going to get because they're giving 30 million to his election? Why shouldn't you be concerned about that? If that is the person who wants to lead the country and promising, he hasn't gotten power, but he's promising to give Wologisi and whatever those people want from Liberia.
Two reasons why I'm not concerned, right? For me, I like to deal not merely on the utterances, but an evaluation of the personality and the social psychology behind the utterer, and those that are involved in whatever debacle is under consideration. I will explain. Firstly, I'll start from the Ambassador Boakai angle, and you can tell me what that means. And I'm saying this quite respectfully, without any disrespect. He's an elderly man. I respect him, but the truth must be told, because he has become a part of a program of people who seek to spread misinformation. So quite respectfully, we're going to tell him the truth, right? Analyze this. Look at the psychology behind Ambassador Boakai. This is a man who campaigned twice with Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, went into the trenches with her twice, toed the line with her twice, was elected as vice president with her as president twice, drew salaries for consecutive 12 years, and said nothing about the state of the country or about governance in our country under Ellie. 12 unbroken years of a partnership in governance. In the tail end of the Ellie administration, he somersaults and then describes himself as being a packer. Titi, what does that say about the psychology of Ambassador Boakai?
You tell me.
It says a lot. It raises questions. Number one, a leader must be somebody who is a team player. Meaning when you are on a team, you struggle with the team, you enjoy the benefits of the team, and when the team is challenged at a certain level, all of you face that challenge as a team. One of the things that demonstrated by Ambassador Boakai is that it is only when the team wins that we must be associated with the team. If the team is losing, then we dissociate ourselves from the team, number one. The second thing it raises is the question of loyalty. Even if there were issues within the Unity Party, such that he did not have, as he claimed, and I say as he claimed because we have not heard from Ellen as to the situation of his Packer relationship. She has not spoken publicly. So all we have is his side. Squandered opportunities, Packer. That's what we know. Now, it raises a question of loyalty, even if we were to assume those were true. Is it when you want to be president, that's when you throw your boss, who has been there, taking you as for 12 years, under the bus? It raises the question of personal loyalty. The third thing it raises is a question of judgment. Assuming again that all that you said was true, then if you have gone for the first term and you have realized that you have very little impact or role on the leadership of the country, yet you elected to go for the second term, it raises the question of personal judgment. Are you able to determine, or were you not able to determine, as you claim, that Ellen was not the best fit for the country, yet you followed her on loyalty, on judgment, on being a team player? Sorry to say, quite respectfully, if you analyze the statement from Ambassador Boakai, it raises serious questions. And these are questions that one must look at in the light of the Costa statement. Like I said, I'm not going to deal too much with the statement. I'm going to deal with the personality and the psychology behind the statement. Now let's look at the one making the statement, the utterer. I need not describe the character. In fact, it provokes humor on my part when I even think about the character who's uttering.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
It's utterly laughable. It is comical. When this character talks about his party,
a comedian.
Same sentence. Our values and their values. I'm befuddled. I'm wondering.
Are you referring to Costa as a comedian? Do you think he's a comedian, politician?
I think he's far worse than that. It's not even a comedian. I think he's conflicted ideologically, and that confliction presents a case to him. And that's why today he finds himself beaten into a corner with no constituency, no political relevance, no intellectual clout, and he is compelled now to make foolish and outlandish statements in order to bring about political resuscitation.
This is a man who said that, his financiers wanted him, they preferred him to be president of Liberia because they did their own assessment and they found out that he was very, very popular around the country and he could be the next president. So they were willing to throw 30 million, just there for him. How will you call him that name?
There are two things problematic with that statement. First, the TT. Either those financiers are the dumbest financiers or investors ever to walk the surface of the earth, or the utterer is a pathological liar. Now, I'm inclined to agree with the latter rather than the former, because historically, this is somebody who struggled and could not even win an electoral district within Monserrado County. You are telling other people who are prepared to front load 30 million United States dollars, right? Without an assessment, are prepared to provide 30 million to this Costa to run. That is the first hilarity that exists with that statement. The second thing to look at is, we know, and I say we know because the evidence is clear, that this particular individual has done what we call political pay to play or pay for play in our country. His allegiance is not ideological in any respect. It's all for the highest bidder. And he wants to believe us for far smaller sums. He was prepared to deploy his mouth to the efforts of people across the aisle, no matter what they represented. We were here when he described this very same Joseph Yume Boakai as the wicked ticket, and somersaulted at another point in time and ran back to Boakai and started being a chaperone. He just got fed with some of the dose of his own medicine because Boakai looked at him. Boakai is also somebody who shifted. Boakai knows his record of being up for the highest bidder. And Boakai said, I will play this kid alone. And at the appropriate time, I will make a decision consistent with what I believe to have happened. And this so Costa wants us to believe that he now have values. Look,
let me hold you to a point. Thank you.
Please.
Yeah, let me hold you to a point. You talk about this phrase, cognitive bias, and I was being so concerned about that. And the next thing you said was not giving in to the mis and disinformation of the opposition, but being concerned about how well you can articulate President Weah's agenda. Now, but then I ask you a question: do you think Henry Costa and the rest of the rest of the opposition members are trying to make some gains in this mis and disinformation when you went to the 2020 election? Do you think that you guys need to do more? Do you think the people are buying into the dis and misinformation, and you need to step up and articulate the president's agenda so the people can understand who is actually saying the right thing or who are saying the wrong thing? Where do you stand on that?
This is where we stand. And in fact, what you've just described, my brother, is the raison d'etre, as the French will say. It is the reason behind the formation and the movement and the momentum that powers the Weah intellectual movement. Because at the beginning of this administration, what we taught, and we've come to painfully pay the price for that mistake, is that our work will speak for itself. That was our, the president is not a talker. He's a doer. He does not spend his time having press conferences and struggling to convince people. He acts. When he said to the Liberian people that I will build an invisible park, he didn't go around making speech all around the country. He just went to work, and now we have an invisible park. When he said I will build a hospital in Bapolu, the Emirates Hospital, modern hospital that can cater to almost 300 people, he didn't go around making speeches. The hospital is there. When he declared 14 military, people laughed. Today, 14 military is there. He's not a talker. So we naturally assume that the quality of our interventions as a government would have spoken to the Liberian people. But we did not know that these people, in their desperation for power, will twist information, will weaponize information, will provide disinformation to the Liberian people to incense them in a way so that they can rise against popular leadership. Look at what they say these days. They talk about we have the blueprint and everything we've done in 6 years. They always counter by saying, "Oh yeah, we were the ones who started it." What starting what? By the blueprint. So you got the blueprint. Why
That's
you did
like I say, you people should go and finish the Salif market in Bone County that they started. You have not been able to finish that. Let me hold you there, please, Kanye. I want to hold you there. Let's go to the substantive issue for which you're here. I think you've sufficiently dealt with the opposition. Let's tell us, opposition actors make it appear that Liberia is losing stature under President Weah. Is that true?
Now, if you allow me, I'll end on that last part and then we move into the substantive. And where I was concluding was on the Costa statement and what it presented. And I
thought you concluded on that already.
No, actually, Washington came with a question that raised, why are we doing this? And that's what I dealt with. But what I was trying to conclude on there, and I'll move on, is that if you analyze that statement, right? That statement has the potential, and I have a different view, and that's I'm articulating my view here. All right. There may be others who hold a different position regarding what that statement portends. I have a different view. I believe that that statement has the ability to become a distraction to us because we have a story to tell. We have a story to tell about what President Weah has done in this country and for this country.
How does that statement in any way become a distraction to you?
Are hand in hand on airplanes to Accra, trying to sell the country for 30 million, allegedly going to the US in basement playing pool, as we saw on Facebook, going to hospitals, collecting money, coming back, and now this collection or this love affair that they had before has collapsed. They want that to be a burden of the Liberian people. I think more than anything, it just demonstrates the kind of people who want leadership and the alternative to President Weah. Their psychology, what they represent, that's what we're looking at. And besides that, it represents nothing else for us. We have an agenda. We have a plan. There are achievements of this government. We will be on message, we'll remain on point, and we're not allowed Costa and whatever hanky-panky press conference.
I think you have articulated substantively, can you? Let's move to the substantive.
Exactly. And Titi can start. She brought the whole Costa Benin now. How do you do the substantive? But no issues. Now, to the substantive. Okay. Like we said, when we talk about international stature of this president, at this point in time, it reminds me about the early days of campaigning for President George Weah, when the conversation was about the international community. And I know both of you can remember, Liberians, we are so enamored and taken by the international community, meaning we love the international community. Everything we do, in fact, we think that the international community will be the one to come and vote. But interestingly, the international community does not vote. It takes you and I to go to vote. We are always seeking the approval of the international community. I remember there's a point in time when people say the international community did not want George Weah to be president. They would never entrust the country to George Weah. Didn't we hear that statement before? I'm sure some of us heard that. Today, President Weah has been president for 6 years, which is a success for people power. So when we talk about stature, we're trying to articulate that these people will come and make all kinds of cases, just how they did about stature. They started off with the 16 billion law, and they said that the international community was against Liberia, and they did not appreciate the president's leadership. And they continue with a series of other demonstrations, trying to draw a dark cloud over the country. But is that really true? Does Liberia not have standing under President Weah?
Does Liberia have standing under President Weah?
Nothing can be farthest from the truth as we speak today. And you know, in many ways, when you started to talk about some of these things, I wonder, I said, well, I don't know whether it's even important for me to come on the show. TT seems to be already on top of the issues, talking about things that we've managed to achieve internationally under President Weah, which speaks to our standing. There are a number of ways we evaluate.
What are the indicators?
That's what I'm coming to. There are a number of ways we postulate based on international standing, right? Firstly, the elementary way in terms of international law is the presence of the international community, or as represented by the emissaries in your country. Ambassadors continue to come to our country. They continue to present letters of credence to the president. No single country has ever broken off diplomatic relations with Liberia on account of the fact that President Weah is president. That's a clear indicator that, firstly, nothing has changed in regards to the handling of the state. That is, the country is still on a respectable path in the international community, and we are respected. In addition, we've signed several bilateral agreements. Another way that takes it to the next step further is the level of bilateral agreements that you sign with countries as a result of your statehood. Since President Weah came to power in 2017, we have signed bilateral investment agreements with the Benelux countries, meaning Belgium, Luxembourg, etc. We've signed agreements with them. We've signed agreements with France. We've signed agreements with Switzerland. We've signed investment promotion agreements with the US, which is, as you know, our bilateral partner. We signed agreements with ECOWAS. We signed agreements with many other African countries. When we continue to sign these trade agreements consistently over a period, that demonstrates that there is still confidence in the leadership of President Weah. That is why these agreements continue to be signed. For example, even from the EU level, quite recently, we signed almost $25 million support to TVET institutions in Liberia, meaning youth who are now going through standard education at the universities. This is supposed to provide skills, technical vocational education under the EU support to Liberia, while President Weah is president. In addition, we've also signed agreement for electricity transmission. Remember the last time on your show, we were discussing about electricity provision, that we have more than doubled what has in 6 years, what existed prior to us coming to power. And that's why the EU has made available 52 million again under President Weah's leadership to support transmission and distribution of electricity. Those are the markers in terms of international standing. Furthermore, among the signs of agreement, because all of these things, they indicate to the public that there is confidence in the leadership of the country. That's why people invest resources in the country. Under World Bank, since President Weah came to power, and these are huge projects that have been signed. We've signed almost close to 30 new projects just from the World Bank alone under the leadership of President Weah. We signed the Liberia Resilient Recovery Project under President Weah, which has been deployed to bolster economic activity, provide loans to market holders in our country. We signed additional financing for the informal sector, meaning not just big companies amongst others, but people who are small income earners. We've signed the Rural Economic Transformation Project, which is additional financing as well, growth development projects. All of these things, TT, are indicative of the confidence that is reposed in the leadership of President Weah. Now, To that end, again, you want to look at standing within the regional bodies. And that was some of the areas that you are beginning to start to talk about, standing within the regional bodies. Because part of the idea that there is confidence has to do with the fact that within the Committee of Nations, you are not just an observer, but you are also taking certain roles within those different regional bodies that exist. You talk about the Mano River Union. Currently, the leadership of the Mano River Union, which comprises Liberia, Cote d'Ivoire, Guinea, and Sierra Leone, resides with Liberia. And we have also been there before, but this continuation of our leadership further tells you that there is confidence in the leadership of the country as it stands. You will follow also that just today, when President Weah came back to Liberia, he declared to the Liberian people that ECOWAS has endorsed. Now, this is massive in many ways. The fact that ECOWAS, this is not just one state, it's not a bilateral or like the Mano River Union, which just includes 4 countries, but it's the whole of ECOWAS, all of the West African states say, look, we endorse you to be a representation to the Security Council. That is more than manifest interpretation of the level of confidence that is in President Weah's leadership of this country. So at many levels, Titi, it is very clear that President Weah has demonstrated beyond that he has the leadership of this country under control, and that there is a lot of confidence in this country. And that is why we believe that these 6 years that have gone by have been the process of President Weah demonstrating that we are really independent.
Can you?
Okay, can you?
Councillor Wabwala. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, I mean, my mic is unmuted now. I think it was muted before.
We
Okay,
lost
so
you.
yeah, we lost you,
So you're just
and so for the past 1 or 2 minutes, yeah, we're not getting what you were saying.
Okay, so I was.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we're hearing
loud.
you now.
Okay, so I was concluding on the point that if you look at all of the things that I've outlined in terms of confidence in the leadership, and why are we raising this issue of confidence now? We have started to talk about all that have been achieved by President Weah: the healthcare, the education, the infrastructure, the peace and security. We've been talking about it. But they are also, meaning those who are the detractors of this government, they are also raising issues regarding confidence in leadership. In what other way do we demonstrate evidentially that there is confidence in the leadership of the country? Is when you have foreign partners, other nation states, sister nation states, doing business with you consistently, providing support to you in different sectors, consistently elevating you within regional constructs, regional organizations, consistently, not just once, not just twice, inviting you over to those meetings consistently, awarding you and seeking friendship and partnership. Look at this recent trip that President Weah made. He visited 2 countries. In each country he visited, there was a direct demonstration of confidence and therefore a benefit to the Liberian state. When he went to Israel,
He believes that.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
You went low again. We're not getting you again.
Okay. So like I was saying, this last trip for me encapsulates everything about confidence. And I don't think it will end. I think if President Weah continues to leave this country as we move to elections, there will be more and more examples of confidence in his leadership. So this last trip, President Weah visited 2 nations. He went to Israel first. In Israel, not only was he feted and received by the highest level of government, not just the president, but the prime minister of Israel. They roll out the red carpet for President Weah. Now, some may say he's a president, so they will roll it out. But Israel, comparatively speaking, geopolitically speaking, economically speaking, and Liberia are several miles away from each other, light years away from each other in terms of on the world stage and dominance. So for a Liberian leader to go to Israel and be treated and held in that high regard demonstrates the level of confidence in our ability, in our leadership. So he was met by the highest levels of government. Beyond that level of governance, he was bestowed with one of the highest awards of the Israeli state, of the Friend of Zion. Now, if you look at the pedigree of that award, some people don't want us to talk about it. They say, okay, so President Weah has an award. What does it mean? It means a tremendous love for this country to be called a friend of the Israeli state, a friend of God's people, to be called somebody who, a country that's an economic powerhouse identifies your country as a friend, which means in international affairs, all of the issues that you're going to deal with, you will find Israeli support for your country. And President Weah was just one out of, I think, 24 leaders across the world that have ever received that award, including American presidents on the African continent.
Daniel, let me hold you there a bit. So we're talking about the president's international statue. Now I am being concerned. All of these different things you've said, they're in positive contribution to what we are talking about. But this is what I want to ask you, and probably take a minute or two to respond. Now, Liberia has just left wall after 12 years of leadership. There were a lot of international partners coming here, and later on, we saw some of these partners having their, international disintegration. That means they were leaving. Now, what are the methodologies? What are the skills and idea this president has been able to galvanize to be able to attract these international partners back to Liberia? These are things that we want you to put on the platform.
Well, I think the statement in itself, and not to sound contradictory, begs a few questions. The nature of international partnership needs to be unpacked. There's international partnership that is of a bilateral nature. There are international partnership that comes in the form of donor support to your country. There are international partnership that come in the form of investments to your country. So you cannot bundle everything together. Now, when we describe that, for example, that the UN mission left this country, that budgetary support fled from this country, it is because when you have the intervention of the international community after war, they brace themselves normally for a 10-year period of remaining engaged. Check any international development discourse around post-conflict reconstruction. 10 years, most times, is the maximum. In our case, they took almost 12 to 13 years and they left. Now, do you attract those same people back to the country? That's not what we're talking about. Because when a mission leaves, it leaves. The country must not stand on its own. But what you do is by elevating the level of development in your country that encourages bilateral relations with other countries that can contribute. So, for example, the Emirates Hospital that's built in Bapolu, why do we call it the Emirates Hospital? It is because the way President Weah has elevated the conditions of our country, that the Emiratis were interested to say, look, we'll invest in providing a state-of-the-art hospital. And they made that commitment, and they've done it. It is there in Bapolu County. That's how you demonstrate that. Now, when he goes to Israel, meets with the chieftains of state, gets the highest prize, and comes back to Liberia, I can tell you for sure that there is a commitment for an investment in Liberia. Those are the kinds of dividends that we are talking about by having a steady leadership that is respected. More to that, I listed over 10 different projects that has come from international organizations that are in different sectors of our country, whether it be the World Bank, whether it be the IMF. And if you allow me, if I start to list them, we won't leave. Why do you think these projects come here? You think they just happen by mistake? It's a manifestation of confidence and leadership in the country that brings these projects in electricity, in water, in other places. Why is it that we have double electricity output in Liberia over 6 years, more than the last 12 years? It is because of confidence in our systems. How are we being able to build more roads? It is a partnership with the World Bank that financed road construction. That's what brought them here. Why has ArcelorMittal paved the road in Nimba when that agreement was signed in 2013? It took re-evaluation of the agreement under President Weah's leadership. That's confidence that led to the paving of that road. So what we're trying to say is that confidence provides dividends for the country, and that nobody can argue that over the last 6 years, President Weah's leadership has been devoid of confidence. And I told you the Israel part. The Guinea-Bissau part, you are also privy to that information. President Weah attended the ECOWAS meeting. And what is the result of his attendance? Did he just go there to be a mere spectator? Not at all. By his being there, we reap the dividend of having the full support of ECOWAS to be represented at the Security Council. What does that say to you about leadership under President Weah? You have countries all across ECOWAS. Why is Liberia being selected at this point in time to be bestowed such an honor? It's about confidence. It's about leadership. And that, I believe, are the dividends that we are getting under President Weah.
That's good. That's good.
Okay. Councillor Wabala, we're going to hold you there, and then we interact with those who are listening to us. Maybe they have some questions for you that we didn't ask. They're going to ask you that question, or they want to talk about some of the things you've said. Let's allow them to make their inputs this evening. Washington, please call the numbers.
So you can call the numbers 0880-514-096 is the line, 0880-514-096.
And you will have an opportunity to our very first caller. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, my name is
Go ahead.
I just want to tell my president welcome back and congratulations. I want to tell him about coming back. I think we're doing a discussion. I tell you all, President Weah will be really.
Thank you. Let's go to the next caller. Welcome. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. What's your name? Where you
Okay,
calling?
thank you. Yeah, so this is Pastor again. Let me say thanks to Honorable Kanyo. I mean, every time you say in the studio, I'm okay, right? But I want to ask, how can we, as all community dwellers for Red living District 6, how can we have access to the Weah intellect?
Hello, Pascal. Oh, we lost him. Kanyo, did you get the question?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you want us to start engaging now?
No. I was just being concerned. That's all.
Somebody's on the line. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, welcome. Go ahead. What's your name and where you call from?
I'm Gia Thompson Bowie. I'm calling from Zwedru.
Go ahead from Zwedru.
Angela Connor.
Kanye is from Zwedru, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to say bravo to Councillor Bala. You know, when the fact is being let Liberian people say the 12 years and the 6 years will have big differences in the gap. So by him saying the truth is when I heard the other opposition party, when I heard the Liberian people who not really want to say the truth. But we are seeing what George have done in the first 6 years. So we believe that his next 6 years coming is just at the Ottawa 10 or Ottawa end of time. So we elect President Weah to be our president to move the country forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. What's your name? Hello. Hello.
That person is up
Yeah.
there. Another person.
Hello. What's your name?
Hello.
Yeah. What's your name?
Yeah, this is Winston B. Mitchell, the chairman of the Rural Montserrat Resident Movement for the re-election of President George Manuel Weah.
Mitchell, go ahead.
I'd like to say thanks a million. I join you from Monrovia. I'd like to say thanks a million to Councillor Kanyo Bagbala. Let me tell you, brother, this is very clear. The fact is glaring. There's no argument. And that is why the Rural Montserrat Resident Movement is the conglomeration of opposition parties. And we have decided to go to the length and breadth of this county to ensure that we deliver Montserrat County to the re-election of President George Manuel Weah. And there's nobody going to answer why.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bobby Mitchell. Hello. What's your name and where you call from?
That person is up the line. Let's take this one.
Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
Oh, yeah, doing good. What's your name and where you call from?
I'm Donald Joe calling from District 9.
Go ahead from District 9.
What I want to say that I want to contribute, say something.
concerning Colonel Barbara Smith. What all you were saying, it was prepared by Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Even when Toba died, Toba prepared and looking at something on the platform. The day was, you did not furnish it. They give it to your child. You put your child away. Is the child not furnish it? You put the furnish it over. So the World Bank project, the experimental project in UK, the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. The electricity that we enjoy today, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, was damaged.
Can you talk a little bit about it? Let me hold you there. Let's talk about the electricity project. How
well do you know about it?
They are running electricity project in Liberia today. It was signed by Ellen.
Okay, so when it was signed by Ellen, then what does that mean? What does that mean?
Okay, So any president, even if any president whatsoever he comes to power, if you don't do it like him, then people are thank God for Joshua. He's doing well. But if any president comes to power, he's not implementing because it was being signed.
So when you sign a contract, what were the terms and agreements of the contract? How did Ellen Johnson Sirleaf leave that contract?
Okay, she signed the contract.
Mm-hmm.
They tell her you give me money, you sign it. You gave me money, you signed everything. He left with me to invest the money.
Or she just went there and put pen to paper, right? And she gave who gave who money?
They were the international community.
Be specific. Don't just say the international community. No. Don't say the international community.
The World Project, it was World Bank that was signed with the government of President Ellen Johnson.
So let me ask you this question.
Thank you. Let me ask him a little bit. You come back. So the World Bank signed. When did they sign this contract?
Okay. When Ellen came to power, 2011. It was his last term. The contract along with Public Works Ministry.
What? What you call along with Public Works Ministry?
Who along with Public Works?
Minister at that time.
The Public Works Minister signed the electricity contract?
No, I'm not talking about electricity, I'm talking about road.
Oh my goodness. All right.
No, but I just want to ask you a simple question. So since you said hello, can you hold on, sir? You said all of these things that this government is making gains on was laid out by Madam Sirleaf. So do you believe this government? Hello, sir. Give me a break. So do you believe that this government is also laying out for the next government in the future? Do you believe?
It then just wanted to move forward. We hold them responsible because John has to do some laying out, which he himself, he brought people on board, like the hospital in Bapu, like the military hospital. You get me?
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. I think we got your point. Thank you.
Hello.
Let's leave it. Hello.
Good evening.
Yeah. What's your name? Where you call from?
Oh, thank you very much. Let me say good evening to your many listeners. This is Bobby Abu Menska. I joined the discussion this evening from District 6 or Estikopolo. Let me appreciate the councillor. Listen, the councillor is in serious error. The councillor spoke about squander the opportunity that the government squandered. The councillor failed to understand that when Broker spoke about squander, inclusive of all those people that was in government. The entire government squander and Councillor Barbara asking.
Can you hold on a little bit? You said the councillor failed to understand that the former Vice President Bouaka meant what?
He spoke about squander in 2017 message.
Right? What did he mean by that?
The thing that I said to you today, when Bouaka said was squander, inclusive of the current president, they were all inclusive in the
inclusive of the current president.
President.
So how did? Yeah, okay. So the whole government squandered, right? So if I were to ask you now, hold on.
The government, and none of them in one position. So that's the reason that Honorable Walker said that we squander the Nigerian people opportunity.
So is that a good thing when you squandered opportunity?
Today, Ambassador Walker just wanted to do fair to the Liberian people. That's all.
But his fairness, being fair to the Liberian people, how does that better the lives of the Liberian people when you squander opportunities?
It was not bad for
But Bobby, when did Mr. Boycott know that? When did Mr. Boycott know that the opportunities were squandered after 12 years of silence in leadership? When did you know?
The opportunity was squandered. Everybody in the left is squander an opportunity.
Okay, thank you. So we keep squandering. We keep squandering. Hello.
Hello.
What's your name? Where you call from?
I'm in Raja MC, so from Ganda City, Nima County.
Go ahead and Nimba.
Yeah, somebody. You see the problem in Jerry, my people there in Nigeria is some of these guys don't understand. My brother, we that from Nima here. As for me, I've been in Ganda here for almost 20 years. And the law who then living in Ganda, today a lot have been changed. You understand it? We are just running traffic for years. So they follow for all our calling things today. We are in there, college. We have our own traffic on motorbike traffic today. We could not take motorbike from here to go there because of the toss. And now, you can take back from here, you carry, you start by area, one door can tell you, from here to go complete. And now, get to where I'm sitting right now. Our place, our weird place that human beings pass at 9 hours.
So what are you trying to say?
Yeah.
So has there been improvement, right? I think that's where you're going.
Yeah, people are part in the now. But for president, we have to bring calling there right now and made a play. Day and now people moving there without fear.
Okay.
You understand it?
Okay. So you're happy with what President we did, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The president and man carrying on here, not eating my sister.
What kind of project the man carrying on there?
Now, we get life in Ghana.
Okay.
And to where we are now, we need to sit down there. But this thing can sit down on the way, do everything like that. We got quota for here, to go secondary for here, to go complete, to where they see rescue people that are calling themselves rescue. Since from yesterday, we get quota, you can wear a white t-shirt for here, go into complete without us.
So the woman ain't happy, eh?
Yeah, incomplete quota for Ghana, so go complete.
So the woman ain't complete, they happy, eh?
Yeah, quota that they put when there yesterday. And I said, I when I was going there yesterday, what they tell the people are there. And I played well before. The target move to Kaya easily.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Even to where we here for inbound, today, the school are there for Manatari Day. The school crowd whole tower down, but now has become one of the best high schools now that they have been for us.
Oh really?
You will look at it. You will look at it. They're not working. Then you say they stand all up for this Sunday, all up for this Manatari Sunday. That Sunday, they will also be talking now.
Thank you. Thank you. No signing business. You can get it. I have a blueprint. Eh? Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Clarence Small from the Supreme Court.
Okay, let's hear you.
Go ahead.
Look, because the Barbara is just sitting over there to defend this government. Let me just tell you the truth. This government has failed up massively.
How has the government failed you? Hello. How has the government failed? Hello, no. You answer my question. When you say something about, you say the government failed you. How has the government failed you? No, you're not attacking. No, I'm asking you. You say the government failed you. You tell me how the government failed you.
You gave me word. Let me ask Councilor Barbara.
Okay. Hello. Let's hear you.
We thank God for the government. They can do some work in Nima here, which I beg us to thank you. And not everybody has electricity in Ghana.
not all part of Ghana. You get one day, especially they're ready to take a microphone of Ghana. It's all part of Ghana. Even the road that moves up the legislature, second, not all part of second.
But they say, okay, I agree when you say not all of Ganta has current, but you appreciate that, you know, some parts of Ganta has current, right? So it's small, right? A mighty, little make a mighty ocean, right?
The little one, but the problem with Nigerian system, not that Nigerian one for government to do all for them. And that's shocking people in the country.
I agree with you.
Government, I can say government joins the need in any country. In Nigeria, everybody wants to go into government. They want to go into private sector. They want to create something for themselves.
Okay. That's true. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everything on government.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mr. Towisa, let's hear you.
Yeah, today, good evening. Let me say good evening to my brother, Tony Barbara.
Good evening.
I need to talk with I'm calling you from Baptist Seminary. Look, today the last time I called, when I listened to Humble Slow. And look, it's just simple. We that have served the past leader, and I will always set an example with myself. I hail from Refugee County, and I can tell you, I said to you the last time on Snow Show, and I listened to Colin Barbara, you heard the people that calling from Nima County. So why these people are just crying foul? That can tell you, and I said it, even the county tour, anywhere that we go with the president, I want for people to use me as a case study. Let me talk about most of the videos that I said. President Weah is the fourth president that I said. And it's no joke. I've seen it without even fear of favor. Some of these things that will make the Nigerian people to put President Weah for one round. It's not only my country, everybody, that today we can see development. It's not only, look, all across Nigeria. Today, we're talking about the road from Second Park. You heard the people calling from Campbell. You see the people calling from Ganta to Secretary. You heard it that round. Look, when they, okay, we went to speak to our people. And for me, I even told the people, everybody can, I will be the lead campaign across the country. The thing that President Weah is doing, just shame on the people that they see it and they ride on it. You heard the boy telling you that the rescue day, you were riding on the road from Campbell, blah, blah, blah. So you live in Ganta, you round the quota, they go to second by round the quota. Say 1847, when Nako was down there, why did they do all these things?
So let me ask you a question, because you served for President Weah is a president. What will be, why do you think President Weah will be voted overwhelmingly as compared to his predecessors? What is he doing differently? Because you were very close to, the powers that be. So what is it differently that President Weah is doing that, the other people did not do, that you see and you're excited about, for which you think that, people are going to vote for him overwhelmingly?
So, thank you. I said it on Snow Show when he called from Israel. It's that simple. I came to Monrovia in 1980s. I live in a Ghana Bay Bell. And all my life in Monrovia here. Today, you can talk about the road from St. Michael to Tusafi, from Tusafi to Bannerville, from New Jersey, take the Bannerville curve, come from Johnsonville, Jarrett Market, and other places. Now, let's leave the outskirts of Mosurado. Let's get out there to the other counties. You see from people coming to Feshta, Mamu County. Even from Feshta coming to Kaweke, from Kaweke to Bepo Kaweke, where they call Jacotown.
So why you think the other people did not do that? And then President Weah, what magic is he using? Especially comparing him to the Bouaka Ellen or the Ellen Bouaka administration, because they just left power and they had all of the international support. You were working in the office of the president. Why do you think they didn't do what President Weah is doing with, not much support?
Today, not much support to this government. This is what the president will get it for women's vote for the Nigerian people, because even today, nobody can cry to pay their child watch fee. Nobody can cry to say.
So why you think Ellen Bouaka didn't pay all that one? Why? They had the money. Why they didn't do it? Is it because they didn't have love for country, or the ordinary people were not their priority?
Thank you. That's where we come from. See, President Weah know that he came from Gibraltar. He suffered to go to school. He know what it means for a market woman to find the school fee for a child. He suffered. He went through a Zion, all places.
Ambassador Bouaka ain't suffer to go to school?
Oh, yeah, they suffer.
Jose, you want Bouaka ain't suffer?
No, they all went through it, but they don't know what it means because they were earning money. So President Weah said, no, I'm president, and I don't want for my president. No, and this is the Minister of Education. Can you imagine now the worst results are coming? It's almost 96% of Nigeria are past worse.
Oh, okay. Let me leave you at that. Let me leave you at that.
And today, I will be in refugee where I raised up. Refugee country will have no reason of elected president. And we are making sure from the West East, including other countries, President will be
elected.
And okay. While doing the one round, we won't spend no money, because after the one round, we want to make sure that the money as we are going for second round, we'll use it to connect from secretary to capital, from capital to Grand Kia, from Grand Kia to refugee.
Okay.
Then we got to Sano and Grand Bassa.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wise. Thank you.
We got lots of stuff. I listen to your program. I can tell you.
Thank you.
It's okay.
Thank you. We don't have much time.
Let's go back to Kanye.
Let's take one more caller, because I wasn't fair to these people. Let's take one more caller and then we just come back to our guests.
Hello.
Hello, Titi, how are you?
Good.
That's what something I want to say.
You coming back for the second time?
No, I'm a first time here.
Okay, go ahead.
Everything, some people are expecting a certainty, and other people are expecting other things. Any children said that Joseph Bouaka were expecting, he was the expert of farming. So President Weah is the expert of implementation. It's time for 12 years, so let it allow President Weah to implement for 12 years.
Okay. He said it's time for 12 years, right?
Kanye.
It's time for 12 years. So President Weah should implement for 12 years. Okay. Okay, it's your turn. You listen to the people. Councillor Wabwala.
Well, I think you also listen to all of them, and I presume that I can also end by responding to them and make my parting comments, because we are almost at the close of the program, I believe. But the majority of those who called continue to emphasize all of the good things that President Weah has achieved over the last 6 years. You listen to the last caller talking about free WACC, talking about performance in the WACC, talking about the development that's going on in River G. You listen to the caller who spoke about NIMBA, the road to Kample, how now that as motorcyclists, they are able to ply their trade without being, covered with dust. And as commonplace as all of these things may sound, they just point to the fact that when President Weah promised change, he actually brought change. And our job is simply to continue to communicate what has happened over the last 6 years. Before I close, to the caller that asked about how you can get in touch with us, I think you are asking about how do you get in touch with the We Are Intellectual Movement. We have a Facebook page called the We Are Intellectual Movement. If you navigate that page, you will find a number on that page. Just call that number and you'll be able to get in contact with our head of operations, and then we can begin engaging from there. More besides, tomorrow, colleagues of ours will be at the Intellectual Center on the freeway called Fobel from 4 to 6. 3 of our colleagues will be there and will be engaging that electoral forum, because we're not only on the radio, we are going into the communities, we are going into the spaces where these conversations are being held, where this information has entered, and we are clarifying the information and presenting the good work that President Weah has done. So go to that page, get the number. Also, if you have the time tomorrow, you're along the Japanese freeway, I believe. Fobel is an intellectual center that's there. 3 of our colleagues will be appearing at that center, so you will also have the opportunity to interact with them firsthand. This is a non-partisan movement. Feel free to reach out, all of you. You don't have to be a sedition like some of us to be a part, and you can help to push the agenda of President Weah. So on that note, TT and my dear brother, it's been pleasant. I believe this is where we come to an end. But I'm sure we'll see you again very soon. Very, very soon. Because I've made it my business now to camp open conversation.
Okay, Kanye.
Kanye, thank you so much. I think it was a great interaction, and we look forward to doing this some other time. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Titi. Bye-bye.
Okay, Kanye, thank you very much as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's how we go home on this edition of Open Conversation. And, I just wanted to say something as it relates to one of our callers. The thing is, we're here to interact with one another. If you said something on the radio, just be ready to defend what you say, because we're not going to give you an opportunity to just say something and you think that you're going to go with it like that. If you said that, the government is corrupt or the government did not do anything, we give you an opportunity to tell the people this is an open conversation, but don't attack our guests. Right? If you want to say, if he says something or she said something that you don't agree with, we'll ask you a question or do a follow-up question to that. Just be able to express yourself like one of our callers, did. But the other person, you make wildcat allegation and then I ask you a question. Instead of you responding to the question, you want to go beyond and start attacking the guest.
So that means a lot of people don't understand the trail of communication. So you just say something and you want everybody to just buy and believe in what you say without bringing you to check. I just don't think Liberians should be living in that imagination at about this time. But it was a spirited conversation, as well. It's always been good, and a lot of people are getting glued to the conversation, and I think we're doing good today. And on this note, I just like to say,
so we see you tomorrow when we'll be here, and economist Samuel Jackson will be our guest on Open Conversation tomorrow evening. You don't want to miss it. Have a pleasant evening.
Bye-bye.